Hello and welcome to another video of mine, and in today's video I'm going to talk about a discussion I had with one of my customers. He posed a question to me: will gold hit £1,000 an ounce? We kind of argued it a little bit. I'm not so sure, but he seems to think it will. And I said to him, I was like, firstly, what you need to understand is that I have a vested interest in gold as a semi-retired coin dealer, and but my vested interest is not in it going up. So my vested interest is in it moving. So the thoughts and opinions that I have are mine and they are my own. And if you ask 1,000 different people, you might get 1,000 different answers. I'm really sorry about my desk. It's not that clean. I've been super busy of late. And he basically said, I think gold is too expensive. To which my response was, but it's relative, is it not? Is it not relative to the times that we're in due to the excessive amount of quantitative easing, or the government putting money into the system via the purchase of bonds? And then we went back and forth a little bit. And I said, I don't think it will. Well, he asked actually, he's like, do you think it will go below 1,000? I was like, well, that depends on time frame. You know, like the longer the time frames are, the less likely you are to predict. But I don't personally believe it will go to 1,000 within the next 18 months. But I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if I'm right. You know, I think it will stay between certain bounds. I think with the price of gold, with it being benchmarked in dollars instead of pounds, and with Brexit coming up, I think that it's just gonna bobble up and down. I can't see an end to quantitative easing personally. It's been around for 10 years. They've had excessive amounts. I didn't go too deep into the research, but it is a question that plagued me for the last couple of days. I don't know how they're going to tailor back quantitative easing. We're stuck in a perpetual cycle of low interest rates. You've got to take the quantitative easing out the equation, but you can only do that by paying off the bonds. Or I guess you could have debt forgiveness, but a lot would have to happen. I don't remember the last time that happened, maybe World War II. I'm not convinced. I personally think we're heading towards a train crash that's going to get faster. And if that is so, we're going to have runaway inflation, and that is going to be reflected in asset prices. We've seen this. We've seen how excessive amounts of quantitative easing has stimulated the economy, but it's also generated a wealth divide between the top and the bottom. Essentially, if you're someone who is at the bottom and you don't have much money in terms of saving, and you get hit by rampant inflation, which I think we have been personally, it's not in excessive amounts, double figures, etc., but the inflation has come from assets. So your house prices, I think where I'm living has gone up 8% most years. You know, it's compounded. It's compounded 8%. It's gone in your stock market. So, for example, I was reading earlier that the stock market was around 3,000 after the last crash. It's more than double that. You know, I think you have to get 7% compound interest for 10 years, 8 years, something like that. It's for it to double. And that's what we've kind of had. Don't quote me on the 10 years. I know it's around that mark. I don't have a spreadsheet out in front of me. Now, if I'm right and the quantitative easing is a train wreck waiting to happen, that will only speed up. It is going to increase all asset prices. And in my experience, so this is anecdotal, don't take this for gospel, my experience is that the best of the best assets, they tend to appreciate the most, such as your fine wines, your art pieces. We're talking about stuff that most people won't have access to. I think your gold and silver will go up. It will be the common man's or especially silver, the common man's goal to acquire those type of assets, because most people don't trust banks and won't go into the stock market. I don't think it will personally get to £1,000 an ounce. Now let's talk about the flip side. These are my views, by the way. The customer I was dealing with, I actually quite like, because he strikes me as someone who reads a lot and sits down and really thinks about the world. And he thinks that the price of gold has gone up beyond that of quantitative easing. And he quite rightly stated that before Brexit, it was a lot lower. I think I ended up buying around £800 originally for a few ounces. But I don't think that he's right, because we are in unprecedented times. We're in times where there's been negative interest rates in certain European countries. We're in times where, well, quantitative easing is new. It was an experiment, and they've managed to keep it low. It's kept jobs up, but I don't see how they can bring it back down. Now, if he's right, it means he can hold off and buy more gold at a cheaper price. Personally, I'm not buying gold. I'm buying silver. I like silver. I like silver for various reasons, and purely on a spot play, which I don't think you should ever do personally. I think you should treat it like a stock portfolio. You should do the same with coins. You should have currency silver and bullion silver and semi-numi silver, maybe some old pieces, maybe some ancient coins. You should have a bit of everything. If he is right and they can taper it and it does drop down and all the conflicts in the world kind of stop, he will be able to buy in at a better price. I'm not so sure. I'm not sure I buy it. I think not in the next 18 to 24 months. With Brexit coming up, that's if we leave. It might be Brexit by name only. It's kind of difficult to see it going down. Like, you'd imagine that the European nations will fight tooth and nail. They have to, because they're having a bit of crisis of existence, and they're all waiting to see what happens with Brexit. Now, if Brexit is successful, I can actually see the European Union crumbling slightly, or it not being in the same mould as it is now. There's going to be more demands from other European countries to get better deals. I think the way that it's gone federalist doesn't exactly work. So anyway, I will leave it there and tell me what you think. Bye.